What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. On this beautiful day, February 9th, 2019, with me today is mega Mets fan, mega Jets fan, and a guy who is kind of stuck with me for the rest of his life, whether he likes it or not. My brother-in-law, pretty damn good dude, Russ Koch. What's up, Russ?
Nothing. What's going on, listeners?
This is a guy that I've actually been trying to have on. Even before this was like a thought process, I've been talking, and he was in the city for a while. We're in Poughkeepsie here, so it was tough to get him. And now that he's finally back, we had the chance to do it. We're doing it. He doubts himself a little with his sports knowledge, but he knows a lot more, and he's going to definitely show it here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy to be back in the area and hanging out with you, my sister, and my niece Josephine.
Who you might hear cry in the background at some point because I think she's flipping out right now.
Sounds about right. And so is your dogs.
And so are my dogs. Yeah, that's just the norm in this house. So, Russ, any social media plugs, anything you have in mind that you want to give people so they can stalk you a little bit?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Kochmania and Russell Koch on Facebook.
All right, nice. We're just going to get right down to it. Now, everyone watched the Super Bowl this past weekend, for better or worse. There was a lot of commentary on it. It was the New England Patriots beating the Los Angeles Rams. Tom Brady doing it again, getting his sixth ring. A guy you've heard on here before, the Million Lira Man, just absolutely loving Tom Brady, even though he is a Dolphins fan. Yeah, Wally, that's a shot at you. And
yeah, he's been all week just sending us texts with pictures of Tom Brady getting the trophy or making out with Robert Kraft. Just really enjoying yet another Super Bowl win for a front-runner fan like that.
And we might I might throw a poll up and see if we'll talk about Wally's past and how he's a Dolphins fan and if he's just kind of a ship jumper to go to the Patriots right in the AFC East.
Right.
So, but overall, I'm going to get your reaction first. The pundits gave their reaction. The fans sure as hell gave their reaction. What did you feel about the game overall?
Well, I thought the Patriots game planned it pretty well and played the game the way they wanted to. They, there was low scoring. They didn't really hit. They seemed to be blitzing a lot more than I thought they would. They really controlled the Rams defensive line, which I thought was going to be the biggest problem for them. And I think they caught a little bit of a break with whatever's going on with Todd Gurley, and they got C.J. Anderson instead, which really didn't seem much of a problem for them.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the Patriots had much problem. And I think we discussed this. We were over your dad's for a little, and we all discussed that literally nobody is better at halftime adjustments than Bill Belichick. That when you're playing them in the first half, don't expect to see that at all in the second half. And I think we saw much of the same. It was 3-0, 3-3 going into halftime. It was, super low scoring. A lot of people called it a boring game. Some people liked it, like the defensive. I'm kind of sitting in the middle. It was definitely a defensive struggle, but I don't know if it's as boring as people say that it was. It really all just depends on the type of fan that you are and what you like to see. If you were a big fan of the Rams-Chiefs Monday night game, then you probably didn't really like this one as much. But if you kind of like your defense, then you were pretty happy with.
Well, it was also nice to watch a team stick to their game plan. Like the Patriots really ran the ball really well with Sony Michel. I've had in my fantasy team, so I kind of followed them all season. It was nice to see him break out like that for a pretty good game. And obviously, Edelman just kept on catching anything thrown his way. It was in the beginning of the game. It looked like they were going to Chris Hogan a lot, but he couldn't. He had butterfingers for the first quarter, and then they really kind of just stuck with Edelman and a couple times with Gronk. And just kept feeding Michelle. I mean, it's different to see nowadays, like the I formation.
Fullbacks don't exist, but Devlin was in the game a lot. He's the Patriots fullback, Devlin, and he was in the game early and often.
Yeah, and it really, obviously, it paid off. And I mean, the defense too of the Patriots were great. Like the D-backs really did everything that they could do. Play the best game they can against those wide receivers of the Rams, and obviously, no one scored a touchdown, so couldn't win any better.
No one on the Rams scored. And a big shout out to the McCourty twins. I had on Kevin Malice on here. He's Malka Sports, and the McCourty twins are both on their Malka Sports. So big shout out to the McCourty twins for Jason getting his millionth and Devin getting another one with the Patriots. I don't know if I have that reversed. I might, but
Wait,
It's just
what'd you guys eat, by the way? What'd you snack on for a Super Bowl? That's another big part of the Super Bowl.
we were over my father-in-law's, and Pat made she had so much food. She had some chili over there, which she made. It was absolutely bomb. She had some banana cake, the banana bread.
Oh yeah.
She made banana bread, and it was to die for. She just had a whole bunch of stuff there. You know, Pat, she always makes a spread.
Yeah.
So it was delicious. What did you eat?
I went to my friend's place and brought my staple, some charcuterie.
You love charcuterie.
Some Hormel salami and pepperoni, and some cheddar. And I got my new thing, the wine cheese.
Yeah, you're all about. If anyone will know anything about Russ, is Russ will absolutely try any food once, completely and totally, and he will. If he likes it, it'll just become a normal in his life.
Well, that kind of just makes or breaks a Super Bowl party. Is the type of food they have there. We had chili too. We had a barbecued pulled chicken, so everyone was making sliders. So it was, like you said, it was a little bit of a boring game, but overall, it was fun to watch, and I enjoyed the food and where I was.
I thought the commercials kind of sucked too. There were a few decent ones, but I feel like overall every year there's less and less great commercials that come during the Super Bowl, and I think it was 5 million for 30 seconds this year. It was like an outrageous number, and I just thought there were way too many. I think now it's like literally every time even if there shouldn't be a stoppage in the game, all of a sudden we get 2 commercials. I think that they're trying to play to the casual fan, I think, a little bit too much when it comes to that thing, and that has to hurt the rhythm of the players in the game.
Well, I barely even pay attention to it, but I did like the NFL 100 commercial. That was really cool.
Yeah, but people are theorizing that's how Todd Gurley hurt himself filming himself for the NFL 100.
Perhaps.
But yeah, the things you mentioned in the game overall, just the fact that the Rams couldn't do anything. Jared Goff was under duress the whole time, and even when he wasn't, when the Rams were making it look like they were rushing 6 and then they brought 4 or 3, he just never got settled. And I think that has part of to do with the fact that he isn't a veteran in those situations. And when he had time, he didn't take it. And he threw some ducks. He threw some the pass in the back of the end zone where Jason McCourty made a great play.
Yeah.
If that ball was thrown on a rope, there's no way McCourty gets there. But instead, he put a boatload of air under it. It flopped a little. It was tough.
What's the deal with the Rams with their contracts? I mean, I know they went out and signed a lot of these players that they have, so I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this team together.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. I think did they re-sign Woods? I think they might have extended Woods, and he's a big possession guy. Cooper Kupp, I think, is under contract, and people forget Cooper Kupp, but he was on close to Offensive Player of the Year path and leading Jared Goff onto a great path. Gurley, I think they have.
Yeah, they just signed him.
They have Gurley to a mega extension. I don't know about Brandon Cooks, who dropped a touchdown and then
They traded for him, though, right?
They did trade for him.
The first round.
Oh, no, I don't know. Did they trade him for the Patriots? Because the Patriots had him. Okay. So there's that is a good question. They picked up Fowler on defense, Aaron Donald, and Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
So they have that, and guys that you should have thought should made an impact. People thought the Jets should have went after Fowler. Fowler didn't do crap this game at all.
He looked good in the NFC Championship game. I mean, that whole defensive line was looking great.
Yeah.
For was against against the Saints. Yeah, they were all over Drew Brees and really just they controlled that game. And I was really thinking that they were going to do the same thing against the Patriots, but once again, the Patriots outplan,
outperform, out-execute.
Yep.
Now, as happy as me and you probably both were watching Tom Brady throw that first pass interception, was there any doubt in your mind that he was going to settle down and have just a typical Tom Brady steady game?
I didn't know what to think. I really went into that game thinking the Rams defense line was going to control it a lot more than they did. I would never have guessed it went the way it did to a 13-3 game.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was calling for it. I think most people were calling for something in the 40s, high 30s.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that definitely – I think I said 31-28 Patriots or something on the lines of like a low game. But still, we thought we were going to see touchdowns. Now, question for you, being a Jets fan, I know my answer. Does this Super Bowl championship and the fact that he's been to over half a season more of Super Bowls, this is his 9th one, does this make you hate him more or does this make you respect him more?
No, it definitely makes me respect him more. I mean, I'm just happy that I got to see someone do the unthinkable and really shows. I mean, to me, he's proven that he's the best that ever played. He's got 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 championships, and 3 MVPs.
It's ridiculous. Now, I saw this on social media the past few days, and they're comparing not Montana, not any of those guys against Brady, but the fact that Michael Jordan has 6 rings, 3 MVPs, Same thing as Tom Brady. 6 rings, 3 MVPs. In your eyes, which one is a bigger accomplishment, doing it in basketball or doing it in football?
That's a tough question. I never really thought about it. I guess I would say basketball only because there's less. I mean, there's 5 players playing on the team, so it's more of an individual effort than I guess football with 22 different positions out there.
Yeah, it's wild. And special teams coming into effect. You don't have as much control of the game as Jordan, who's playing offense and defense.
Yeah, and you could really chalk up a lot of these Super Bowls to the coaching too of Bill Belichick.
Well, that argument could be made with Phil Jackson. He did it in both Chicago and in LA using a triangle. Obviously, it failed with the Knicks, but it's kind of a time where that style of play was dead anyway.
Right.
But, it's a similar parallel where Jordan was great with Phil Jackson. They kind of made each other, but Phil did it somewhere else too. Again, he has another top 10 player of all time and probably a top 10 big man ever. Well, definitely top 10 big man with Shaq.
For sure.
But it's a I don't think there's a wrong answer, but it's a fun little comparison to look at there. Last but not least, you talked about who the Rams have, who they don't. They obviously still have Jared Goff. McVay's not going anywhere just yet, even though he got severely outcoached. What are the chances of the Rams getting back next year? It's always difficult to get back. There's always that hangover for the winners or losers, unless you are the Patriots.
Well,
what are their chances?
Who's going to be the teams in the NFC that you think are going to stand up against them?
I think the Saints are going to stand back up. I don't think they're done. Peyton Breeze obviously showed he could still play. I don't think you can discount the Eagles. I know Wentz has been injury prone, but that's a good football team. Cowboys are definitely a team there. Zeke is there. You look over.
Yeah, I'd say the Cowboys are probably one of the teams I would think too, especially with how they looked after they got Cooper.
Yep.
So
Seattle's been going on with that rebuild. They're playing a different style of football, and it really, it's something where Pete Carroll's reinventing that team. He did a great job. Russell Wilson is still there. They became a very much run-first team, and it's weird that in times where it seems like quarterback and passing is everything, teams like the Patriots, teams like Seattle, figure out ways to continue to do it. Patriots obviously winning, but they both were running teams. Yeah. They were run-first teams, so they're kind of making that new trend of run first. So I think Seattle.
Well, the whole run first thing is just, I think, great because you really just control the clock. And we're playing teams that have high-powered offenses. Like sometimes that's the best thing you can do is really just keep that offense off the field and just keep running the ball. I mean, the Seahawks, both the Seahawks and the Patriots have a few capable running backs on their team to help keep them fresh legs out there and keep the chains moving. And then bunch of clutch receivers that can catch the ball when you need a third and long, like with Edelman or Baldwin or Lockett out in Seattle.
Yeah, and you obviously have to look at Chicago again. They did well this year.
That's a good point. Chicago
they played well. That defense was good. Aaron Rodgers still exists. They had a bad year this year, but they have a new coach. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. If they can put a little bit around him, he always is a threat. So those are really the teams that kind of threaten him. I hate it, but I feel like Seattle might stand up next year and be a challenger. And also it depends on the draft, depends on free agency. We're talking about this very early, so there's a lot of things that can change. But right now, I think they're one of the top 3 teams
in
the NFC.
Yeah.
In the NFC with the Saints and probably Seattle and Dallas probably there, depending on what happens. If Dak, it all depends on Dak on that team. But so I think they have a chance. I don't know how good it is. Maybe 25% if you split it up between those 4 teams.
Obviously they just made it, but I would think if they're able to keep that same team on the field next year, that they would have the best shot at it. Maybe the Bears, if they can get another wide receiver out there alongside with Robinson. So I really caught on the Bears bandwagon right before the playoffs.
I think everyone did. And if you're a fan of Barstool and you listen to Part of My Take, you were getting Bears shoved down your throat.
Yeah, that's true.
That'll be a good transition. We did talk a little bit about how to stop the Patriots, and that's literally always what our New York Jets are trying to do.
Yeah.
Everyone in the AFC East, Jets, Bills, Miami included, all just trying to stop the Patriots from winning another title. I think that's the first plan before even making the playoffs. So our Jets, they have a lot to do. We finally have our quarterback in Sam Darnold. We seem to have a decent committee of running backs back there, even though I think we could still improve. We have a Pro Bowl, which I hate that accolade. I think it's useless. I'm going to call him an All-Pro. He's a future All-Pro safety in Jamal Adams. Mm-hmm. Marcus May coming back. We had some good things. Obviously, we weren't a great team. What did we win? 5-6 games. It wasn't anything special. Fire Todd Bowles. Adam Gase comes in. He makes his staff. I really like his whole staff from the names that I know. But what would you like to see Mike Maccagnan, who's definitely, this is his job this year. If he doesn't put together at minimum a 9-7 team, I think they're screwed. He's screwed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we have $90 million to spend.
It's ridiculous.
Year, so hopefully make some big pickups. I mean, I know everyone is putting us in front to get Le'Veon Bell.
It's because Jamal Adams has been going crazy. You had lunch with him.
I think I'd rather have Antonio Brown. Like, I would he just is.
I'll take both.
Yeah, I would take both as well. I mean, there's so many holes on the Jets right now.
Yeah, so you look at it. If you're Mike Maccagnan, is your preference going after Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown, or is it we just released Spencer Long, who we brought in to play center? He kind of sucked. We moved him to guard, and he did okay.
Yeah.
There's chances that they say they might go back and re-sign him at less money. But would you like to see him address our line first and address a pass rusher and try and fill those holes in free agency, or would you like to see the big splash?
I definitely want the offensive line to get established, however we can. Really, like the numbers I looked at about Darnold, he was like one of the worst quarterbacks percentage-wise when he's on the run, which he ended up being a lot on the.
I think it has to do with volume there because he was. He did make some really nice throws on the run, but when you're constantly scrambling, your percentage isn't going to be high.
Yeah, but he was great when he actually had time to settle in back there and scan the field and make a throw. So I definitely want, I don't want him to get a little too run happy because of a bad offensive line at the beginning of his career. So I'd really like them to get that established and get a stud wide receiver for him to throw the ball with. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Enunwa and Anderson. They're both great, but I think having a star out there for him to throw the ball to would really just help get his career moving along.
Definitely someone big. I think Chris Herndon can turn into a legitimate receiver too. I like him. He seems to be the comfort zone.
He just got a DUI that he just pled guilty to, right? So he might be suspended for the beginning of the season.
And I never understand that. That's an aside on what the hell is wrong with certain players. Like, why can't you just realize, especially a dude that had a breakout, that had a gift in terms of coming to a team in the Jets where they needed him so he could play it because he was injured and he fell. But if he would have went to a bunch of other teams, he would have been buried in the depth chart.
Yeah.
The Jets had a need. They saw something in him, and he played a lot. And
Jets have plenty of needs.
Yes. And it gave him the ability to showcase the talents and develop as a pro. So that's an aside how some friggin' players, i.e. Josh Gordon, who we thought screwed the Patriots this year, how they just can't get anything together in their lives. But I do agree with you. We need to see that. Now, Todd McShay had his mock draft I was watching. Jets picking number 3, getting Rashad Gary from Michigan, who you're a Michigan fan, so you're pretty familiar with him. He didn't have an amazing year. He had 3 sacks this year, but he had a lot of pressures. He's a good edge rusher. He's a little undersized, which scares the hell out of me because we have a very bad track record with undersized rush ends.
Yeah.
We're switching to a 4-3, which could make a little bit of a difference under Greg Williams. Would you like to see us go after a guy like Rashad Gary, or if Josh Allen and the 2-bit and Nick Bosa are off the table, either trade back or get something different?
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they trade back. I mean, when you have the number 3 overall pick, I really don't think you just go to fill a need on your team instead of just picking the best available player. I know you're not the biggest fan of getting another interior defense lineman, which we
with the 4-3, it could be necessary.
But that guy
now.
Williams from Alabama looked like a monster out there.
When we were 3-4, it made no sense to have multiples. But now that we're with the 4-3, having 2 good guys that could cause disruption, it's a different scheme. So I'm more with that now to give Leonard a little bit of help in there. Leonard Williams.
Yeah, but Williams is, I think, a top 3 pick. So you know what? Who cares if we have someone else already there? Like, that guy's going to make a difference on the defense. Like, he's not going to be able to get. He's going to have to get double teamed in order to if you're an offense trying to protect your quarterback.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And with some, with all the money we have, like you talked about in free agency, God, there's got to be an edge rusher out there that we can throw billions of dollars at. Like, there has to be something in free agency.
Well, that's where I think we should spend some of that money for sure on an already well established edge rusher.
Without a doubt.
Think about how quickly the Bears defense changed once they got Mack.
Yeah, he slowed down a little. He's a bat out of hell in the beginning, slowed down a little, but still, the effect that he had in the
no
beginning,
one could keep that pace where he was at the beginning of the season. We started with
God, it would have been nice.
Well, his first game, he had 3 sacks and a touchdown.
I think he had 6 sacks or 7 sacks through 3 games.
Yeah,
it was something
unreal.
Insane. He had a fumble recovery touchdown, an interception touchdown.
Yeah.
It was bizarre what he did. But yeah, I would definitely love to see that on the docket. Now, switching gears from GM to coach, we touched on Adam Gase. I think all of us were a little bit looking sideways when he had not one press conference is opening, but the second one where it looked like he was just hopped up on every single ounce of coke he could find. His eyes were going absolutely crazy, but as the dust is settling, he's bringing in guys like Jim Bob Cooter as the running backs coach, who was a former offensive coordinator, brought in his guy from Miami. There's words now that Damian Amendola, if he gets released, would love to come rejoin with Gase. It seems like every player that's played with Adam Gase wants to play for this guy again. And he brought in guys like Greg Williams, who is the.
I don't think we need to go run away and go get Amendola and add him to our stable of mediocre wide receivers.
I could agree with that, but if he comes in at a veteran minimum, maybe because he's just a veteran guy, he would kind of be like the McCown of that receiving corps. There's a lot of young guys that need forming, and he probably wouldn't come in with any money if he wants more than the vet minimum. Then go take a walk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like we already have a lot of guys that are like him with Roberts and who's the kid that we picked up from?
You're talking about Curse?
Yeah,
I don't know if Curse is going to stay. He had a few drops. He had a little bit of attitude. I think McCagnon may. I don't know if Curse is on his last year or not, but he might find a way to get rid of Curse.
And I mean, outside of having a stud like Anunwa and Anderson are definitely a great 2 and 3 wide receiver. Like Anderson playing the slot is going to be great.
Yeah, he can blow the doors. I think Anunwa actually is going to take the slot because Anunwa was better at those small crossing routes.
That's true. I mean,
Anderson just blows the doors off everybody.
Anunwa is just great when he gets the ball. Just like he's like a running back out there after that.
He's a monster. He's like Maurice Jones-Drew that can catch.
And just the amount of yards he can get after contact. Like he's just I think he's like a poor man's what's his face Anquan Bolden.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, poor man. Yeah, and Anquan Bolden he's a Hall of Famer. Absolutely, without a doubt. But back to Gase. In the beginning, I think everyone was a little skeptical. I didn't mind it because I know he has a pretty good offensive mind, and everyone's judging him off his record with Miami. But nobody takes a step back to see he had Tannehill out of his 3 years, maybe for a year and change, because Tannehill was hurt. He had a lot of flux on that offense, a lot of nonsense that went on. Yes, he ousted guys that people kind of scratched their heads, but he wants his guys. He wants guys that are going to buy into his system. And if that's what it takes, and I think we need to give him that time. When Tannehill was there and healthy, he had his career year. And the Dolphins were pretty damn good that year.
To be honest, I don't really know too much about Gase. I haven't really done research on him. I know he coached the Dolphins. But the one thing that I think kind of put me at a little bit of ease was that he was endorsed by Peyton Manning, and I'll take his word for anything when it comes to football.
Yeah, let's make Peyton our quarterbacks coach too. Come on, Gase, hire him. I don't care who you just hired. Just get Peyton to come in. But yeah, that's a great endorsement. And I was at ease when he had guys like a Greg Williams, who's a great defensive mind, and like a guy like Jim Bob Cooter, who was an offensive coordinator, now willing to take a lesser position to go and coach with them. It kind of, if football guys like this guy, then it gives you more of a reason to like this guy and have confidence in this guy.
And it's been a long time since we've seen the Jets have a decent offense.
Last year was terrible because I forget his
before
name.
That with McCann, we had a couple of good games, and
I thought John Morton was okay. John Morton called a better game than what the hell was his even name last year? I already forgot him. The young guy, and he was awful.
Yeah, the guy who went crazy and took a long walk on the Appalachian Trail, and then we picked him up and hired him.
And he coached scared. That's all he did. He coached scared, and I was not a fan. And I thought John Morton the year before was good. He had issues with Todd Bowles, which now we see is a Todd Bowles problem, not anyone else problem.
Well, I'm happy for Todd Bowles. He's back with Bruce Arians, and they're down in the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs have some high talented players that
the Bucs are a team that is always there to produce and never does produce lately.
Well, their offense lines was probably after seeing a couple of games, that was probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in the league, and their defense was just Swiss cheese.
Yeah, they have a lot to address down there too. We could probably do another whole podcast just dissecting the Bucs, but they have
probably one of the best wide receivers in football with Mike Evans. So
They have Mike Evans, who's awesome. Deshaun Jackson is still there. Deshaun Jackson can still take the top off of anything. So
they definitely could use that running back that they drafted ended up not doing anything. So they
started off hot and then was nothing.
Yeah.
So overall, me and you, I think we're both tentative season Jets fans where we look at it, we take whatever it is at face value, and we wait and see how they screw it up.
Just hope. That's all I got is hope and very low expectations.
Like I mentioned again, everyone, he's also a Mets fan, so he is very seasoned in that strategy.
I don't know. The Mets are tough because every season I go into my hopes a little bit higher than they should be. I mean, last year we started off 11-1.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah, I couldn't have been happier than.
Oh, speaking of, Modell's is selling salt and pepper shirts for like $10. But so that's a good transition right into baseball. I got to ask you: is Brody Van Wagner selling you with all the nonsense he's talking about? How great the Mets are going to be?
I mean, the Mets, I think, have decent potential. I mean, if the Nationals aren't going to have Harper next year, so and they kind of took a step back with how high powered their team was to begin the season. I mean, the Phillies seem to be making moves, and the Phillies and Braves both came out of nowhere last year with their young players. So it'll be competitive, but I think definitely the Mets definitely have a chance with their starting rotation. I mean, how do they not?
Is Yoenis Cespedes going to play a single game for the Mets this year?
I don't think so. I mean, they pretty much said like if he plays one game, that would be a win for the Mets.
So you're looking at the lineup minus Cespedes, which would actually fit nicely into the current lineup right now. But you have a guy like Wilson Ramos, who can hit. He's injury prone, but he can hit when he's there.
Right.
You have an old Robbie Cano who could still be a good hitter, especially in the NL.
Yeah, Roberts. He's still probably a top 5 second baseman.
Yeah, you add Lowry, you add Conforto.
Yeah.
You have Nimmo, who's going to hit another stride there. I think the Mets are in an okay position. It's really, again, it predicates on the health of that starting staff. You did a lot of work in your bullpen. People don't realize that the trade for Robinson Cano had nothing to do with Robinson Cano. It was all about getting Diaz and taking Cano's money. Cano was the throw in there. I know he's the bigger name, but Diaz was the second or first best closer.
That was a pretty good move. I mean,
it was a hell of a move.
And we got Familia back.
Yeah.
So
the bullpen is nice. It's not terrible. It's not great. You still have Lugo there. You still have Gazelman, who you could throw in both in there.
I mean, there's still pretty good relievers out there on the free agency, like Craig Kimbrell. How old would you say Craig Kimbrell is?
Kimbrel, I'd probably say early 30s, if that.
He's 30.
Yeah.
I thought he was like 35. He's been in the league since 2010. I don't even know what he
now
played like.
It's crazy because there's talks of the Phillies eating up both Kimbrel, getting Dallas Keuchel, and being in position to sign both Harper and Machado because both are interested. Like, if they do that, I hate Philadelphia more than I ever did.
Oh, they're my lead. They're my most hated team in the in baseball. So I would be devastated if Bryce Harper landed there. There's a guy like I wish. I mean, you know how the Mets are spending money. You really can't. They just never really do it. But I don't. Bryce Harper. Why not? Why is he not even? Why don't they even talk about that?
The last time the Mets spent money though was on Jason Bay, and we saw how well that turned out. I think the franchise is still scarred.
That doesn't mean you can't spend money at all. I mean,
I agree.
Bryce Harper is a legitimate game changer.
Do you think they should have spent more money or thrown more money at AJ Pollock before? I know.
Yeah, I mean, Pollock had a really good year last year, and he's made a couple All-Star games. He's a great center fielder. I mean, I much rather have Bryce Harper. Think about how much our lineup would change with him and the 4 spot.
Oh, it would be night and day. And I know people.
If we had him sandwiched between Nimmo and Conforto, and then a Cano right there like that. Now we're looking at a team that definitely makes the playoffs with our starting rotation.
Oh, without a doubt. But
I definitely like the moves that they made, and I really like
Yes.
getting a super utility guy like Lowry, especially in the day of baseball now, where everyone likes to add more guys to their bullpen and less guys on their bench. Which that's the game now. You need to have super utility guys who can play multiple positions, and Lowry guy's coming off a decent year last year.
He had a great year last year, career year, and we're hoping that he can keep it up. Even though I'm a Yankees fan, I'm in a Mets family, and I still like to see the Mets play well. As much as I rib my Mets fans, friends, and family, it's something I don't want to see them be terrible because it sucks for the city when there is no rivalry at all.
I can't believe the Yankees aren't making a move. Like they picked up the Stan contract, and
they had the reliever.
Who's the closer that their closer they?
Well, they got Zach Britton back.
Yeah. But they have the money to get one of these big names. Like Bryce Harper on the Yankees makes
they don't
complete
want
sense.
10 years anymore. They don't want to give the 10-year mega deals anymore. They 8 Stantons.
I get not doing a 10-year deal, but I mean, then give him the same amount of money he wants in 7 years.
I think they offer Machado a 7-year almost equivalent. Machado turned it down. That was the report earlier today. They offered Machado a 7-year equivalent, basically, and Machado was like, nah, I want 10. So these guys are kind of sticking to their guns, and you have a guy, you have their agents who are kind of telling them that's exactly what you're worth, and we're not taking any less. And it's going to come to a point where they're not going to have a choice, and I think that's when the Yankees strike. When they know that these dudes are desperate now and they need a deal, and the Yankees are like, all right, you're going to take our lowball deal.
It is crazy how this offseason is working out. That it's been pretty
2 in a row.
Yeah.
2 in a row. And
players are getting pretty pissed off about it, too.
You know what, though? This is in a non-salary cap league. This is a way for the owners to control the money and for them to sit there. And I feel like the Steinbrenners might be leading this charge in the way that they want to spend more conservatively, where the Dodgers don't kind of care. The Rangers never really care.
The longer the Yankees wait, the Red Sox to scoop up these guys. The Red Sox look like they're going to.
I don't think the Red Sox are going to spend that type of money right now.
I mean, but their team is already pretty
stacked.
elite.
I think they're still the best team in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty damn. The Yankees are up against it, but I think also the Yankees are kind of guarded against making this big splash move. If a guy like Harper, who's injury prone,
if you want to challenge the Red Sox, you need to get one of these guys. They definitely have one of the scariest lineups in baseball. But get one of these guys. Like Harper, to me, makes the most sense. I mean, they just re-signed Brett Gardner.
Yeah, that's a lifetime achievement signing.
Yeah, but what?
I know
you have Bryce Harper out there, and they kind of overpaid for Brett Gardner too, right?
Yeah,
compared to what that position, that quality player is getting. Like that was a head scratcher.
So that's a good jump in, a little good baseball talk there. We're going to talk a little fantasy though. We talked about a lot of these guys. Every year, everyone kind of, the experts predict who's going to do this, who's going to do that. Do you have any feeling on who's going to be one of the best fantasy producers this year? Because guys like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before the Astros started their run, nobody thought Jose Altuve was going to be the fantasy beast he was. He was always a good utility guy, a guy you had on your lineup, but then he became a guy who is picked top 10, top 5, because he's just produces. Carlos Correa's in that number, guys all over the Red Sox, Yankees. Who do you right now think is number one coming off the board in every single fantasy league?
It's always Trout. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Trout. I really like that kid in Cleveland, Ramirez, their third baseman.
Yes.
I had him last year, and he steals bases, he hits home runs, he gets RBIs, he gets runs. He's just a super stud out there. I'm definitely looking to get him again, depending on where I'm in the draft. Obviously, I mean, I do 2 baseball leagues. I've been playing fantasy baseball probably since 2011. I'm a sucker for home run hitters, and I've been to one championship and one league, and never made it in my other one, but been in the playoffs a bunch of times. It's just fantasy baseball is definitely my favorite out of all the fantasy sports to play.
I hate it. It's so involved.
That's what I love about it. It's the biggest grind. I mean, my league with all my high school buddies, man, we changed it a lot just to try to think of the best ways.
And yours is like a keeper, like legit, like the same teams. You guys went away with that? Or?
It never even came to fruition. It was about 13 months of arguing about it, and
I remember that. I was going to be like the arbitrator between you guys.
Yeah, we couldn't land on an agreement, but last year we tried a point league system instead of a categories head to head, and it's just tough. Like that league we made we made pitchers pretty get the most points. So it's just tough because like even in the category league, which we're shifting back to, it's just. If you don't put a cap on the amount of players that you can add per week, all of a sudden, which everyone does, they just stream every pitchers every day.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and then you have teams that just load up on their hitters and then just stream pitchers just to get those counting stats and then get like strikeouts, wins, and innings pitched.
Where a good commissioner a good commissioner, a good system really comes in play in fantasy.
Well, last year we put a cap on the amount of players that you can add per week. We did 4. So I made it. I personally liked it. I wish we made it at 6. But we're just started back up the category league.
But you guys have had this league, like you said, since like how long now? It's been a pretty long time. You guys have been doing this league.
Yeah, since 2011. So yeah, it's been
Yeah, 8 years this
8
year.
years.
That's pretty wild. Now, we talked about Trout coming off the board, Ramirez early, two guys. In terms of duds, I know last year you said you're a sucker for home run hitters. I think everyone is. Gary Sanchez has to be one of the biggest duds.
Catchers in general, it's like catchers is like the tight end of
You never really know.
Well, you always think about like, should I get a good one early? Because then if like after the first like couple guys, like you're kind of out there with nobody. But
Yep.
I think this year I'm going to wait to take a catcher because no one's really sticks out to me this year. I mean, maybe Contreras on the Cubs is decent. I mean, obviously Buster Posey, but he's getting older too. So it's just I don't think there's catchers is one of those positions where they're just going to kill your average and your on base percentage categories. I know in one of my other leagues, one of the teams managers doesn't even play with the catcher every year, and he does fairly good. But
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now you look at a guy like JD Martinez, who had an awesome year, definitely a fantasy guy that people wanted from the Red Sox. Is he a type of guy that still in that lineup is going to be someone that is going to still be productive? Do you think, or is he a guy that you're going to take a chance on and maybe not get that production because he had a great year last year, but who knows where he's going to be this year?
No, I think he's definitely going to be great. I mean, look at his career. He did good for the Tigers when he came up. He did great for Arizona for that season that he played over there. And then last year, he just obviously exploded, especially in that ballpark. So yeah. He did it for a full season last year too. So I don't see him falling apart at all, especially, with the. I mean, is the AL East packed with good pitching? I mean, they got a couple guys in Tampa Bay. The Yankees have a couple guys, but
Tampa Bay is going to be a sneak team. If there were 20 games more last year, they don't would have made the playoffs without a doubt.
Yeah, they don't. They don't have really any super studs out there, but they had a crazy strategy with starting the games with relievers, and
it's something new. It's something new that I think is going to catch on.
They won over 90 games, didn't they?
Wild, yeah, they were right there. They were literally, I think they were like the second team out of the wild card.
Yeah, and just a very surprising, well-coached team.
Yeah, definitely. Now, anyone on your radar that you are specifically looking at right now going, if nobody picks him, I'm going to grab him because he's going to be a surprise producer for me?
I mean, that's always with my Mets. So probably Nemo I'll keep out there as a flyer.
Now, you think people are going to be down on Conforto because of the year he had, and this is kind of a year to snag him a little bit later? I mean, because he has the ability to be great, especially in fantasy.
He came on and down the stretch in August, September. He was he's back to his old way. So I definitely think he's going to be. I mean,
now someone like
he's
Daniel
definitely not
Murphy,
going to stay out. He's definitely going to get drafted.
Someone like Daniel Murphy, are you going to pick up? Because Daniel Murphy kind of had an up and down year last year. Someone like Daniel Murphy, a guy that you could see having another rebound year and really being great.
One thing that makes Daniel Murphy also valuable is that he plays multiple positions. So he's a good guy to have.
But he makes errors in every single one of them.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been terrible with that. But think about that year. He had more like a 330 batting average.
Yeah, the year the Mets decided not to sign him.
I know after he came out of the craziest
World Series, he carried you guys in that series. And
just in the playoffs in general,
yeah.
He was, I think, the MVP of the series against the Cubs. I mean, he had 7 home runs in the world in the whole playoff run that year.
Sandy's definitely kicking himself in the ass. That's the one move that I think could have saved Sandy's job.
It wasn't even just Sandy. I remember Gary on a SNY crew was taking some shots at.
Everyone was.
Yeah,
everyone.
I think he called him a net negative with all the errors that he puts up, and then he goes out there and almost has it. Did he win it? No, he didn't win MVP, but he had almost MVPs. Yes,
he was in the consideration. Yeah. He definitely had that. So. Last question in terms of fantasy baseball. When you're looking at right now, obviously getting your ducks in a row for a draft day, how much does it affect finding out where Machado or Harper go in terms of how you're going to draft them? Or are they just two type of guys that it doesn't matter where they go, they're going to get drafted?
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they go. You just pick them up. Machado switched teams last year and he was still doing great for the Dodgers. And he's just a complete game changer. And I think he also is available at 2 different positions between shortstop and third. So it's kind of like,
who do you pick first, Machado or Harper, if you have the option?
I mean, I guess I would go Machado just because Harper. I mean, they're both great. Harper just had a really iffy average last year. I guess that depends on where they land. Like if someone's in a small ballpark, I'm taking them.
If Harper goes to a sandbox like the Yankees, or honestly anywhere, it's like a little sandbox. He goes to he's not going to Colorado or Baltimore, but a stadium like that where you can bunt the ball and it goes out.
Yeah. If he goes to Philadelphia, he'd be mashing the ball.
If he goes to Philly, they become World Series competitors.
Yeah.
100%, especially with Aaron Nola being a legitimate ace there.
Yeah, and Arrieta.
Exactly. And we didn't even talk about pitchers in terms of fantasy here where, you know, they can make a big difference, especially if you know you have two aces coming up this week.
Pitchers are, I mean, you definitely got to, assemble yourself a stable of good pitchers, but it's just like one of the most riskiest positions I feel like in all of sports because of how many times those guys get injured and then they're out of the rotation for a few weeks, and that can really just crush your fantasy team completely.
So last thing, Alliance American Football, AAF, starts tonight. Spring football is here, 8:30 tonight, CBS. Are you going to watch? Do you even care?
I mean, you're the one who's really talked to me a lot about this, but I really liked how you described it as kind of being like the D-League for –
I was reading an article, ESPN put it out, and Bill Polian literally said it's going to be, we want to be like their backup guys.
I think this is perfect timing for them to really get in there. It's a lull in sports right now. You get the NBA All-Star break next week. There's no football on, and it's before March Madness. So this is a great time to kick that season off. And people are still hot on football. So
everyone out there listening, football's not over.
Yeah.
AAF is here. But all right, that'll conclude this episode of the Sports Opinions Podcast. Russ Koch, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
brother.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Again, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Kochmania on Instagram and Twitter, or Russell Koch on Facebook.
Sweet deal. Again, I'm Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Cuesta30. Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. Instagram, SportsOpinions30. You can go find us anywhere you can find a podcast. Visit the Facebook page. And 100% just go look Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, anywhere you can find the podcast. Again, this was the Sports Opinions Podcast. Everybody have a good one.